Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to be doing a deep dive into something a little bit different.
Uh, Different how?
Well, different from a lot of the things that we cover on the show.
Okay.
We're looking at inflatable buildings.
Inflatable building.
Yeah, inflatable buildings. I know it sounds kind of like bouncy castles and things like that.
Right.
But what we found is that there's actually this whole world of inflatable buildings that are used for serious purposes.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like really, really big structures.
Okay.
And they're not just like blowing air into like a big balloon or something. These things use what's called an air overpressure system to create really strong and stable structures.
I am intrigued. Tell me more about this air overpressure system. How's it work?
Well, from what I've been reading, these buildings, they have like double walls.
Okay.
And air is constantly being circulated between those walls.
Huh.
And that creates this overpressure that essentially makes the air itself like a rigid structural element.
That's fascinating. So basically they're using air as like a building material?
Exactly.
You never would have thought of that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And get this, some of these buildings can be set up in like 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah, with just 1 to 3 people.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, just think about all the time and labor that would save in a construction project or in like an emergency situation.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's a game changer for sure.
So how about we start with talking about how these buildings are actually put together?
Sure. So one of the things that makes these inflatable buildings so efficient is their modular design.
Modular.
Yeah, it basically means that they're made up of these individual units or modules that can be connected to create all sorts of different shapes and sizes.
Oh, like giant Legos.
Exactly. And these modules can be pretty big too. Some of them are like 21 square meters.
Woohoo!
And some can even get up to like 72 square meters.
That's huge.
Yeah, so you can imagine how you could combine a bunch of these modules together to create a pretty substantial structure.
That makes a lot of sense. So, okay, we've got these modules that snap together. But how does the air overpressure system actually make them into a strong building? I mean, I still can't quite wrap my head around that.
Yeah, no, it is kind of mind-boggling, right? So think of it this way. The continuous airflow between the double walls of each module creates this internal pressure that pushes outward against the fabric of the building.
Oh, so it's like blowing up a balloon, but instead of just filling it up, the air is constantly moving.
Exactly. And this constant movement of air creates this really strong and rigid structure. It's almost like turning the air itself into a solid wall.
Okay, now that makes more sense. But what about wind? I mean, wouldn't a strong gust of wind just blow the whole thing over?
That's a great question. And actually, these buildings are designed specifically to withstand some pretty serious weather conditions.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. So first off, they have a really robust anchoring system that secures them firmly to the ground.
Makes sense.
And then on top of that, they actually have an aerodynamic design.
Aerodynamic. Like an airplane.
Yeah, exactly. So the shape of these buildings helps to minimize wind resistance and keeps them stable even in pretty high winds.
Okay, so these things aren't just blowing away at the first sign of a breeze. They're actually engineered to stay put.
Yeah, they're a lot more sophisticated than they might seem at first glance.
So now I'm really starting to see the appeal of these inflatable buildings.
Mm-hmm.
They're quick to set up, they're strong, they can withstand the weather. What's not to like?
Exactly. And there's more. One of the things that really impressed me when I was reading about this technology is how they address comfort.
Comfort.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily think of an inflatable building as being particularly cozy, but the overpressure system actually plays a big role in maintaining a comfortable temperature inside the building, no matter what the weather's like outside.
Wait, really? So it's like insulated?
It is. The constant circulation of air acts as a barrier, kind of like the insulation in your house. It helps to keep the heat out when it's hot outside, and it keeps the heat in when it's cold out.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're telling me these buildings could be used in all sorts of climates?
Absolutely. Deserts, Arctic conditions, you name it. These things can handle it. The possibilities are endless. It's really inspiring to think about.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am definitely going to be keeping my eye on this technology in the future. It seems like it has the potential to change a lot of things for the better.
I agree. It's a real game changer.
All right, well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya!
Who knows?